Child, get on in here. This is MsNique, also known as MsNiqueReVamp, and this is I Can't Make This Shit Up. I'm giving y'all an update on the Paul Pelosi situation, and Mr. DePepe is how they pronounce his name. So it says, suspect in Paul Pelosi attack intended to kidnap Nancy and break her kneecaps. Let me tell y'all something. That press conference was almost 15 minutes. Not once did I hear did anyone say that Nancy's kneecaps was going to be broken. However, they definitely made sure that they applied the charges. And something I found a little bit more strange was once they were done speaking, the DA, there was a Q&A with the reporters. And it really seemed like nobody had answers to a lot of very logical questions. Okay? So, being that the video is that long, I am not going to sit here and have you watch that whole video. I will be paraphrasing, and I will just clip here whatever questions and answers I thought were relevant. If you want the full video of the actual press release, press conference, I will put the link in the description. So you can go right on over there and watch it until your heart is content. But again, here we go.
Thank you all for coming this afternoon. I am San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, and I want to start by first sending our well wishes to Mr. Pelosi once again. We are truly praying for a speedy recovery on his part. I want to also start by thanking the San Francisco Police Department for their immediate and swift investigation of this case. I am here today to formally announce charges against Mr. David DePape in connection with the violent attack on Mr. Pelosi. The charges that we are filing today include attempted murder, residential burglary, assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, false imprisonment of an elder, as well as threats to a public official and their family. These charges are based on the following facts, many of which are contained in the federal affidavit that was filed today, as well as will be contained in the motion to detain Mr. DePape that we file tomorrow. Mr. DePape specifically targeted the Pelosi home to confront Speaker Pelosi. He forced his way into the home through a rear glass door by breaking that glass. The defendant made his way upstairs to the second floor of the home, locating Mr. Pelosi in his bed sleeping. He woke him up, confronting him about the whereabouts of Speaker Pelosi. Mr. Pelosi, who was sleeping, was wearing a loose-fitting pajama shirt and boxer shorts. He was forced to get out of bed, and at some point during that encounter, Mr. Pelosi attempted to access the elevator in the home, which has a phone. The defendant then blocked Mr. Pelosi's access to that elevator. It was at some point after that Mr. Pelosi asked to go to the bathroom, which is where he was able to call 911 from his cell phone. The defendant, realizing that Mr. Pelosi had called 911, took Mr. Pelosi downstairs near the front door of the residence. 2 police officers arrived at the front door 2 minutes after that 911 call. When that door was opened, the defendant was holding his hammer, which Mr. Pelosi appeared to be attempting to control by holding a portion of
Observe
that hammer.
Mr. Pelosi and the suspect both holding a hammer. The suspect pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi.
The defendant then pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently struck him in the top of his head. The police then immediately apprehended the defendant. What we also have learned is that the defendant brought to the location of the Pelosi residence a second hammer, as well as zip ties, rope, and a roll of tape. What is clear based on the evidence that we have thus far is that this house and the speaker herself were specifically targets of the defendant. As for next steps, The defendant is expected to be arraigned tomorrow afternoon. My office will be filing a motion to detain him without bail.
Wall Street Journal, Brett Jenkins, thank you for this. How many? Who opened the door for the police officers? And one question. The second question is, how many times he was struck? One time with a hammer, not twice.
So at this time, it's unclear which of the men opened the door, and we are also still fleshing out how many times he was struck in the head.
Gabriel Bachelor, Mercury News. I'm wondering how an individual was able to access the home of someone so prominent. Was there any security in place there? How was he able to open the door of this home?
What I can tell you is that there was no security present and that he was able to break the window to a glass door to gain entry into the home.
Theories that are already out there about what transpired. How important is it for your office in conjunction with other prosecutors to paint a clear picture, including the evident political motivation for this attack?
Of course, it's always paramount that the correct facts be in the public. We, of course, do not want distorted facts floating around, certainly not in a manner that is further traumatizing a family that's already been traumatized enough given the nature of this incident. And so that's why it's of paramount importance. I think I've covered as much as we're going to cover today. More facts will be contained in our motion to detain that we will file tomorrow in court that you'll have access to.
Can you talk a little bit about his current state? Our understanding is that he's still being held at General Hospital. Can you talk a little bit about that and his arraignment tomorrow?
So I'm not aware of where he is currently. He has obviously been booked on these charges. We will file our complaint. We expect for him to be in court tomorrow. And that's the most I can say. The way that this works.
Or will it become public?
If it is played in a court proceeding, it will be public then.
Tag you it. Child, listen. What did you think about that press conference? And did you end up with just as many questions as I had? Because it almost seemed like they were trying to go out of their way to explain certain things, certain details, like why was Paul in his underwear? Well, if you come into my house at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm asleep, that's what I'm going to be in. So I just felt like that was unnecessary. Y'all know what I'm saying? I feel like they trying to do damage control some way, somehow. It don't seem right. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking and let y'all talk to me. I'm going to see y'all in the comments.